family mode.
Hello, this is Frank Donaldson with the Institute of School and Parish Development, and we are recording a webinar for St. John the Evangelist Catholic School. The school is one of our clients involved in the ISPD executive coaching process. We've had a wonderful opportunity over the last month or two to learn a lot and to share ideas about development and offer suggestions about the growth of development with both Ann and Linda, the principal and the development officer. And one of the things that we encouraged them back months ago was to form what we call the development core team. And so this recorded webinar is being used to educate, to inform, and to also share some ideas about what to do in terms of moving forward. As you can see on the screen, we are looking at this in terms of three areas. One, we'd like to spend some time, maybe 20 minutes, talking about what do we mean by Catholic school development. Secondly, what is this development core team concept? And thirdly, we'd like to take a look at 4 or 5 initiatives that we feel that the team can help the principal and the development director and others in terms of moving forward on some real key ideas. So let's get started. As I said, we're going to take a look at some background information, take a look a little bit at the philosophy and organizational framework of Catholic school development, talk about the role of the core team, talk about some specific focus areas that we have talked with Ann and Linda about. As I said, we are a national Catholic development consulting firm. We're actually moving to our 26th year. And my name is Frank Donaldson, former Catholic school administrator and development director and teacher for many, many years before starting this company. And really, we work with Catholic schools and parishes and dioceses throughout the country. Just some contact information. I did send Ann and Linda a copy of this PowerPoint, so they are can certainly distribute it to you. But let's go ahead and get started so we can understand what we mean by this word development, which in many circles seems to stand for the word fundraising. And as we will find out, nothing could be further from the truth. Fundraising is a component of Catholic school development, but it is just that. It is a component. It is not the thing. We use a definition where we say that development is the meaningful involvement of people in your mission and vision for the future. And as you can see with the words underlined, we're talking about how do we meaningfully involve people. We use a quote and we say belonging leads to believing. And when people feel like they belong, when they feel like they are a part of something, then they really believe in what you're doing. They believe in your mission, your vision, your core values. And it becomes a definition that once again we have used for 26 years. And it holds true today as it did back then. We also equate this to people in terms of ripples in a pond, where if I drop a pebble in a pond, usually the first ripple are folks probably like yourself that are watching and listening. This first ripple are usually those 50, 60, 70 people in a Catholic school and a parish that raise their hand and want to get involved. They respond to an invitation. And in many cases, the first ripple is the core of that school in terms of volunteer help. And what we see, though, in our work is there's a second ripple of people, probably 50, 100, 200 people who would love to get involved, but they usually don't. And the reason being is no one personally engages them. And so we're talking about personal invitations. Third and fourth ripples of people, we don't even know them. We may know their names. They may be a name or an email or a direct mail address on a database, but that's about it. And so one of the real charges of Catholic school development is how do we open up those roadways and avenues and vehicles to invite and involve and engage people into our Catholic school. So as we look at this, we at ISPD have long used what we call the 7 I's. So in terms of moving the concept of meaningful involvement forward, we first of all have to constantly identify those people who can make a difference. And this is a 24/7, 365 occupation, so to speak. Always identifying those parents and those parishioners and those past parents and the grandparents and the financial leaders and the businesses and the foundations and the people in the community, the prospective families, always identifying people who can make a difference. And this is not the job of one person. This is the job of everyone. And so, as we'll see later, that becomes really important why the database is so important. The second is to make sure we inform. And of course, when we started this company 25 years ago, the way to inform, we have so many more tools in the toolbox today, a lot of them due to technology. But the ability to constantly let people know what is going on through various methods of communication, of which we'll look at in this presentation. The third one is the one I alluded to earlier, the invitation. And this is the one we feel we always can improve upon. How do we personally invite, how do we personally engage people into the life of that Catholic school? When people are invited and personally become involved, which is the fourth I, then that moves them to the fifth I, where many of them will want to help us implement processes and programs and different things that we need to have done that as a principal or a development director, we just don't have enough time in the day to do it all. This leads to people feeling vested. And whereas some of this is money, not all of it is money. That investment stage, that sixth I, really is people considering themselves as stewards of that Catholic school. And this leads to us constantly improving, which is the reason we're viewing this and taking a look at all of this. We always encourage people, as you see the arrow on the screen, to imagine this big circle going round and round. And inside that circle, maybe there's 7 smaller circles, and they're going round and round. And the synergy that is created from people who are involved and engaged like yourself and the people that you will engage, that synergy becomes contagious and really becomes very positive to advancing the school, to developing the school. Hence the terms development and the word advancement. That's what they really mean. How do we develop this school? How do we advance this school? So as we look at it, in order to do that, we here at ISPD have set up what we call an organizational framework. As you look at what's on the screen, you'll see some empty boxes that we're going to fill in. And so we're going to take it from square one. And by the time we're finished, all the boxes will be filled. And hopefully you will understand this whole idea of Catholic school development and what are its main components. So let's begin. The first area we're going to call constituent records, and that kind of goes to the first I, inform. We always say your development efforts are only as good as your database. And this may be some software package on development, maybe Access, maybe Excel. As you can see, some of the names on the screen. All of these, once again, are going to be a decision that'll have to be made in terms of what is the best way to keep track of the records. What is the best way to keep track of the information of parents, of prospective families, of donors, of alums, of parishioners, of grandparents, maternal and paternal, of businesses, corporations and foundations, community and civic organizations. What will be the best way to keep these records? And who will be doing that? So very important component of development. And so constituent records is that first box, because without that, you really don't have a lot to do in terms of moving your processes forward, because development is people. It equals people. It's a people business. And so the ability to communicate becomes so important. We also take a look and say that if we look at Catholic school development as a system, then we can really see it effectively. And so within that system, there are a number of processes, as we'll see in this presentation, that make it all work. And unfortunately, many development efforts throughout America have started with a Catholic school starting development, and they started just to do a golf tournament or a raffle calendar sale, or a Christmas tree sale, or a gala, or a fair, or a festival, or a penny party, or what. And so development in many cases, in many schools, is just nothing more than one fundraising event after the other. And as we said, we don't want to fall into that trap. And so the next area we see that is important is what we call the written strategic plan. And here's an outline for that. And this takes a number of months to create, maybe even a year. But we like to have it start with understanding the mission and purpose of the school's development and advancement efforts. Number two, the case for support. In other words, why should people support St. John the Evangelist Catholic School? And then, as we'll see, there are going to be 6 major areas on our diagram of Catholic school development. And so what are the challenges in each of those? And then what are those strategic initiatives that will solve those challenges using that SMART formula, which stands for strategic, measurable, achievable, relevant, and driven by a timetable. And then finally, what are the 5 priorities you're going to be concentrating on in terms of a semester or in terms of a full fiscal year? And then there is the implementation plan. So as we talk about this, you'll see in the diagram coming up now, you'll see this strategic plan for development and advancement becomes very important. Next is another area, which is really the second I, inform, the communication area. This is where you're able to articulate who you are, what you are, why people should support you. And it's also where you develop your wow. We're very big on this wow. And what that means is what distinguishes St. John the Evangelist Catholic School from other schools. Now, you understand that we'll have an organizational structure. You have a database of people that you'll want to reach, and you have a plan of action. And now it's important that the messaging is clear. And so communication in many schools can have many components. It usually is at the base level, the articulation and integration of your brand, verbal and visual, publications, newsletters, brochures, promo materials, your website, use of email, communication, social media, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, other vehicles to reach out to your constituents, the design elements of your communication efforts, and the use of media, photography. These are many of the components of communication. And depending on, exactly how much or how little you take on, it's a very important area. And although rather small, so it can fit within the box, you can see that communication is really key. The other area that we find to be really important is what used to be called recruitment, and now it's called enrollment management. This name changed years ago for high schools, and many years ago for colleges and universities. It changed probably 15 years ago for Catholic secondary schools, and it's beginning to change more and more for elementary schools. The idea here is that you want to manage your enrollment, and there's 3 components of that. And one is attracting the families. The second component is admissions, admitting the families, and the third component is retaining the families. And so enrollment management really is everyone's job. And we like it to be part of the overall development structure, not set off by itself and called admissions or whatever. So we realize that this is a major area. And just with the 2 areas we've named thus far, the written strategic plan and the database, here are prime examples of how enrollment management should be a major part of development and advancement. there's a number of focused areas here. Not to say that you're going to do all of these, or you may be doing all of these, but obviously in enrollment management, there are promotional materials, and that's usually in coordination with the communication area. There's ongoing daily records of people who call the school and people who come to your various functions and open house and all that, and that is going to be part of the constituent records. They're the visits and the shadow days or bring a friend days, whatever, whether it be a student or the whole family. There's the open houses, the student retention activities, the outreach to the feeder and partner sources, whether it be Catholic parishes, Protestant parishes, karate schools, gymnastics schools, parent neighborhood gatherings of your parents inviting other parents to come, on-campus activities for prospective families and students, community-wide exposure, maybe being in a shopping mall and having a booth or a table, ambassador teams represented in a lot of these feeder parishes and schools. So enrollment management is a major area. It is probably the most important area of all, because without students, you really have nothing. So enrollment management is that third box we're filling in of 6. The next one we call fund development. And by this we mean the annual fund, the capital campaign, the major gift work, the endowments, the planned giving, memorial giving. A lot of this is done on the secondary school level, but elementary schools certainly do get involved in annual funds, and many from time to time have capital campaigns, and many of them eventually evolve into the major gift piece. The fund development really is not selling something and not buying something. This is not a candy sale. This is not a bake sale. This is not a fair. This is not a festival. This is not a golf tournament. Basically, by fund development, we're talking about that area where you're inviting people to invest. You're inviting people to consider themselves as stewards. And in all of these, the annual fund really is the one that needs the most attention. And so one of the things we're going to be encouraging over a period of several years in your school is to move into an annual fund structure. And so with an annual fund where you're inviting parents and parishioners and alums and past parents and grandparents and business community and faculty and staff and everyone to consider 3 gifts: the gift of prayer, the gift of service, and obviously the gift of financial support. We like for schools to have annual fund chair couples and different divisions. These divisions usually take several years to develop. There's a major gift division, which is people who could consider a gift of $1,000 or more every year. This may start out being a half a dozen people, maybe as many as 100 in 10 years. There's a leadership gift division, meaning faculty and staff and board and councils, parent gift division, alumni gift division, parishioner gift division, business community gift division, and friends, meaning past parents and grandparents. Now, all this takes time, so please don't look at this and say, I've got to launch this year. But the annual fund, when it moves into this type of structure, there's chairs, there's chair couples, there's division chairs, there's teams, and it can become very, very effective for a Catholic elementary school. And we'll talk about this as we move forward. So the fund development piece is where you're inviting people to invest in your school. Now, the next one is what we really feel needs to have some attention, and we're excited in talking with Ann and Linda that this is going to be an area that they're going to invite you to help them with. The alumni involvement, alumni if you're all girls, obviously, alumni, boys and girls is the way it's referred to. Now, the ability to bring back your graduates, even if you're in elementary school, it can become a hidden gem. And whether you're, as we say, elementary, high school, middle school, really the ability to get people back on campus. Because alums will, really get excited about their quote unquote alma mater. They can help with open house. They can serve on ambassador teams. They can come back for social events. They can, eventually participate in the annual fund. There's all kind of things that they can do. And obviously, with a school of your history, this becomes something that really needs cultivation and help. We're encouraged that you're moving in this direction, have been moving in this direction, and we can certainly beef this area up. You know, some of the areas, key areas, the database, which is in constituent records, but then having an alumni organizational group, the communication, whether it be newsletter or social media, website presence, email blasts, annual reports. Sometimes in elementary schools, it's great to have decade reps, alumni homecomings, reunions, maybe by decade, maybe by class blocks, on-campus events, maybe during Christmas holidays. Or always remember, with a lot of your graduates who have gone on to high school and then have gone on to college, you know, when they come back for the break, Christmas and spring break, and many times their breaks are pretty long. And what a wonderful way to get them back on campus for various things. So once again, alumni involvement becomes key. So we're going to put that one there. The last block is something that most people think is what development is all about, and that's fundraising events. But this is unlike fund development. Fundraising events is, we said, buy and sell way of thinking. The Catholic school is looking to sell something: raffle tickets, raffle calendars, bingo cards, pull tab. You know, you can see the list up here. Now, we like it when a Catholic school does their fundraising events, and there's not a lot of them, but they do three things. They raise good net dollars, they build a sense of community, and they identify, promote, and inspire leadership. And when those three things are present, then your fundraising events can be extremely effective. In the coordination, and this becomes important, that this area be coordinated with fund development. And so we've always said that the annual fund, when it's organized and comprehensive, is the main focus. You know, because there you're inviting people to be stewards. You're inviting people to invest. You know, and then with an elementary school, maybe the school would sponsor 3 fundraising events. Careful selection as you move forward of whether or not you want to get involved with major donor work, whether or not working with the parish, some type of capital campaign effort. But once again, making sure the fundraising events are well coordinated and they don't step on the toes of the annual fund, because the annual fund is the single most important, as we say, development dollars effort, not fundraising dollars effort, that a Catholic school could ever do. Because here's where you really are inviting people to invest rather than trying to sell them something like a product or a bingo card or a sponsorship of the 18th hole of the golf tournament. Really important piece. So these really, as we look at Catholic school development, these are the 6 areas: constituent records, communications, enrollment management, fund development, alumni involvement, and then fundraising events. Still got a few boxes at the top, though, that are important. If we believe that development's the meaningful involvement of people in your mission and vision, then people fuel is what's going to distinguish your efforts. And so the challenge in every year is, how does a Catholic elementary school engage 100 new people each year into the school? Really important area, very important area. So that's why we put it over here, and we say, you know, we believe that people engagement is the key to success. And we've developed many, many ways. So the core team that you're being invited to be part of, input listening sessions, maybe a principals cabinet is formed that meets twice a year, that could have lunch and offer a vision, strategic planning involvement, cup of coffee meetings with the pastor, the principal, maybe leaders in the annual fund or capital campaign, maybe a parent ambassador team, maybe the principal invites parents to come in for cup of coffee meetings, maybe there's an alumni class rep system set up by decade, maybe there's parent reps. Once again, the people fuel. Keep in mind now, go back and realize that the success of all this is going to be understanding the ripples in the pond. And it's not always going to be the same people invited all the time. So really important. And the other is, how do you engage that 100 new people? Not, when I say 100 new people, I'm not saying in terms of giving money. I'm talking about just engaging them to be part of the school, to feel part of the school. That doesn't mean they have to serve on a committee that meets every month. How do you successfully engage them? How do you do that? I've often told, in working with parishes and with parish councils and advisory school boards and advisory school councils, I've often shared with them a thought that I even told a school board recently. I said, you have about 300 families in the school. I said, and there, 12 of y'all sitting around the table. I said, what if, for the next 5 months, each of you took 5 families in the school and gave them a call and just said, hello, Ms. Johnson, this is so-and-so, and I'm a member of the school board here at XYZ Catholic Elementary School. I just wanted to call and say hello. See how the school year is going? I noticed that here you have a daughter that's in the 4th grade. Hopefully she's doing well. And once again, just wanted to let you know we're here. We are excited to be part of this leadership group. And then also close the conversation by inviting them to something. Maybe invite them to the to the Christmas caroling function, or invite him to, once again, people, please don't think money in this next statement. People give to people. They give their time, they give their energy, they give their expertise, they give their wisdom, they give their support, verbal. That's what this is all about. So as we look at this, people fuel becomes important. Now there are 2 more boxes to fill, and they're going to be filled all at once because they're important. Because if a Catholic school is going to move forward, we feel, as a company, ISPD feels that the development officer or officers and the core team, okay, are going to be the key to it all. Now, some schools, as we say here, have a 1-person shop. Some have a multi-person shop. Some have volunteers. Back when I was an administrator, I was the one who raised his hand and said, I'm responsible for development of this Catholic school. And the development office was a 4x8 table in my office. But the person that we call the development officer needs a team. And that team is you. And we call you the core team. And as you can see in this slide, many schools don't have this. We've put, there's thousands of Catholic schools across the country. I guess we have put probably 300 or 400 core teams in place across the country. There are folks like yourself who are volunteers. They represent many areas of the school. Board, faculty, staff, parents, past parents, donors, alums, community members. And usually they're focused, as we'll see in the next set of slides, on helping the development director and the principal educate and communicate on what's going on in that area, helping facilitate, and above all, helping implement. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for the school. It's a wonderful opportunity for Ann and Linda to invite you to stand alongside of them and really make things happen. So here's the framework. Let's take maybe a few seconds just to look at it again. The leaders of the school said, we need a development effort. The philosophy is people fuel. We need a core team. We need a strategic plan, and we're going to look at 6 areas: constituent records, communication, enrollment management, fund development, alumni, and fundraising events. And this is what we recommend for an organizational structure for successful Catholic school development. Some people say, well, you've left things out, and I'll say, like what? Well, recently someone said, well, what about grant writing? Well, that's under fund development. No, really, really important. So let's move forward to the next area, and that's the core team of what you've been invited to belong to. The core team in a Catholic school is part of the system, and we believe that the Catholic school development is the system. It's a system of processes. You know, the annual fund process, the strategic planning process, the communication process. It's a series of processes that will make it all successful. And we also believe that when a school has a core team of 15 plus people working closely with the development director, the principal, that this can really, really make things happen and really can be extremely successful. Usually, as we said earlier, the core team concentrates 10% on educating and communicating to the various leadership groups of the school and the parish what these development efforts are doing. They spend 10% facilitating input, maybe helping with surveys or helping with input sessions or listening sessions. But 80% is you help implement. You help implement many, many things, as we'll look at here in a little while. The core team works very closely, side by side, with the principal and the development director, in this case, Ann and Linda. And the real purpose, 80%, is to serve as the implementers of the plans and processes that are in place or are being created. And because of that, the core team are the finest leaders in the school. So obviously, I want to commend each of you who've been invited to be part of the core team, because Ann and Linda and others basically have said that they believe you're the cream of the crop. You're at the top of the list. And we want you to be with us and help us as we move along in this new venture of Catholic school development. And most of the time, core team members are positive, mission-driven, strongly believe in where the school is going, able to work in a team setting, good team players. Usually we say that half should be able to speak well in front of people. Maybe a couple of you go to the parish council here in the next couple of months and with Ann and Linda, and maybe just talk a little bit about what you're doing. You're the steering wheel. All hands are on the steering wheel to once again educate, facilitate, and implement. Core team members can provide some background, some historical perspective. They can offer names of people that they could identify that can become involved. And we always say when you invite people to get involved in something at the school, like a planning process or something like that, then 40% of the people you invite should be people already involved, but 60% could be new. And so you can serve as spokespersons. You can, once again, offer your ideas about different concerns or issues that need to be discussed before they reach the outside community. And we always remind people of the 110-100 rule, where let's say you're dealing with a controversial issue that has come up in the school, and you're offered, you Ann and or Linda invite your input. And if that conversation stays within the room around that table, then it's going to hurt you times one. So it's not going to hurt you. But if it goes outside of that room, beyond that table, to family, then it could hurt you times 10. If it goes out into the community, it could hurt you times 100. So once again, there come times with all core teams where they're asked to, believe in the confidentiality, and that becomes important. We always find that confidentiality usually as it concerns other members of the community. Core team members are asked to serve in leadership positions in various ways. You can offer news and bulletin information that maybe you want to let people know about what's going on with development, and maybe you put out a monthly word process development update bulletin that lets people know what you're doing. And always remaining positive and mission driven. Meeting on a regular basis, usually once or twice a month, and committed and not just interested. Prompt on time for meetings. Meetings begin on time and end on time. Usually we maintain good core team meetings, go between 60 and 90 minutes. You need to establish what is best for you, but they should start on time, and whatever time you say you're going to end is when you need to end. There's agendas for each of the meetings. Minutes are taken and distributed, and team members respect each other. Where is this valuable? As we said, just reemphasizing, helping educate. Many schools assign their core team members to key organizations, and then they get on the agenda on a consistent basis in order to educate them what the development system is doing. So maybe 2 by 2, you would go to the faculty and staff, maybe the parish council of the parish, maybe the parish staff, any boards, any committees, any councils, key ministries of the parish, any clubs, organizations, PTA leaders, whatever, and you could let them know what's going on with this effort. Helping facilitate. Maybe there's some input sessions, or listening sessions, or town hall meetings, or surveys, or as you can see, many of the different areas of facilitation. You could help implement alumni events, annual fun, new parent welcomes, phone outreach, like we just said, where you're calling people to say hi, surveys and questionnaires. Other implementation areas are, obviously the fundraising events. Everybody can read real well here on some of these. Some of these may be applicable at this time, and some may not be. But once again, we think it's important. Those 3 areas: educate, facilitate, 10%, 10%, 80% implement. In talking with Ann and Linda, there is specific focus that they're going to invite you to get involved in. And let's look at those areas as we kind of wrap things up. With the core team at St. John the Evangelist Catholic School, one of the first things is they can share with you this whole idea of creating what are the top 10 selling points and what is your wow for St. John the Evangelist Catholic School. We always like to invite the core team's input, the PTO, the student leaders, the faculty staff, the parish leaders, where everybody is once again done separately, and then you taking the best of all that and coming up with a top 10. We've had a number of schools that have done this, and everyone gets something. Everyone is involved. And so I think it's important as you look at this, that you look at it from the perspective of being able to not only develop the top 10, but then answering the wow question is, what distinguishes you from other Catholic and private, parochial, charter, public schools? It doesn't necessarily mean that it makes you better. It just distinguishes you. And so that becomes important. Help create the top 10 selling points and your wow so you can use it. Isn't it great when all the messengers will speak the same message? Educate the main leadership groups. Like I said, if you look at the main leadership groups in the school and parish, maybe 2 of you can go to each of those groups, name them first, maybe develop some bullet points about what you're doing, tell them about this new development initiative, tell them about the new core team, tell them some of the areas you're going to work on this school year in 15-16. Maybe you could conduct some input sessions, listening sessions with school parents and parishioners, just seeking input, seeking ideas, maybe help distribute the ultimate question survey that Ann and Linda and I have talked about. And obviously you can help with the planning and implementation of an alumni homecoming in 2016. So there are all kind of things to do. And obviously it will be important in terms of looking at this and taking 1 or 2 of these and really starting with that. I think it's important that people know what you're doing. And so the top 10 and the wow is important, but educating other people about what you're doing and just maybe getting on the agenda of the parish council for 10 minutes and letting them know what this is doing. So we've looked at three things today. We've looked at what is Catholic school development. We've looked at what is a core team and what is its value and what are its three main areas of emphasis. And then we've looked, it's on the screen right now, those 4 areas of specific focus that Ann and Linda and I have spoken about. So I think as we invite you to belong to this effort, I'm sure as we wrap up this presentation, Ann and Linda will have a really good discussion about what it is they want you to do, and also about any questions you may have about Catholic school development and what's going on in that area, your role in the core team, how often you're going to plan to meet, and how they could definitely utilize your skills, your talents, your best wisdom to help implement the 4 items that are on the screen. So once again, we'd like to welcome you. We'd like to say thank you so much for being part of this, and once again, realizing that your help is going to mean a huge difference in terms of all of this moving forward. So thank you. I've enjoyed sharing this with you, and we look forward to working more closely in the future with St. John the Evangelist Catholic School.